Edgar Wright is an English film director known for making action comedy films. He was born on the 18th of April 1974 in Dorset. His career started with short films, then he moved on to make his first feature-length film, which was A Fistful of Fingers, in 1995. You probably have heard of him, because he is quite famous. Shaun of the Dead is one of his most popular and famous films, but did you know it was inspired by a particular episode of Spaced, which starred Simon Pegg? Since then, Simon and co-actor Nick Frost have starred in Edgar Wright's films such as Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz and The World's End. Today I'm going to be discussing the micro-elements of film form in Edgar Wright's movies. So I'm going to start with editing in a scene in the second film in the Cornetto trilogy, which is Hot Fuzz. It's the travel scene, where Sergeant Angel moves to his new location. So instead of just a boring travel montage with lots of kind of long wide shots of a vehicle, in this case it's a taxi in some parts and a train in others, but moving closer to the destination, he actually uses lots of short, sharp, quick shots, which is really good because it's just something different and keeps it really fresh. Some of them you may think are repeated, they're just really similar. They don't properly show the actual taxi. Instead, it just cuts a couple of times to a close-up of the taxi logo on the top of the vehicle. And also, he uses a phone in a couple of the shots. You can see the bars of the service bars of the phone on the top right-hand corner of the phone, slowly going down as he slowly starts to get further away from the normal city society he's used to, and shows he's leaving the area and getting further away. So the second part is he uses cinematography. I'm going to be using the pub scene near the beginning of Hot Fuzz to show this. So it starts showing Sergeant Angel reading a newspaper, and the camera moved gradually towards him. It's a medium shot because we see the character, which is Angel at this point, in the middle reading the paper, but we also see background of the bar, and we can, in the background we can see Danny buying a beer, but at this point we don't actually know who he is. We're not actually sure if he is going to be a main character or not. The camera then swings around a few times, showing people drinking and, having a good time in the pub. And then gradually Sergeant Angel starts to realise they are underage. The camera moves towards him and it becomes a close-up shot, just so you can see his expression and possibly his surprise about this. And then there's, as he sort of realises what's happening and the surprise kicks in, there's like a big light shining in behind them. Third thing is sound in the pub fight scene in Shaun of the Dead, which is one of the most popular, kind of famous scenes in the film. It is quite funny, really. So at the start there's an eerie noise, which is from the zombies in the background there, basically surrounding the tavern, the Winchester pub, which gives it quite a creepy feel of the zombies making their weird zombie kind of noises. And then out of nowhere, the jukebox starts playing. It plays Queen's "Don't Stop Me Now," which is, I think it works quite well because it's such a jolly song, such a fun, upbeat, bouncy song, and if you think about it, it's such a dark situation they're in. They're being surrounded by hundreds of thousands of zombies, and what do? And then out of nowhere, the landlord or the pub owner who works there, we briefly saw him earlier in the film, appears. Obviously he's a zombie, so they briefly work out what they're going to do, and then they start hitting him with they start hitting him in the beat of the music, We can also hear other points where zombies are breaking into glass. And yeah, it's hard to hear. There's like an eerie sound all the way through. It seems there's a constant beat through the whole scene, whether the three main characters are hitting the fella with the sticks from the pool table, but also there's zombies growling, and the final part is mise en scène. I'm using a scene from Shaun of the Dead, another popular one, which is Shaun going to the shop. Not the first time, the second time, because if you notice, it actually replicates one of the scenes from earlier in the film when he walks to the shop. All one very long shot. Yeah, it just replicates it, but basically in this version, everything is now in this new zombie world. There's dead bodies laying about. There's people that are still human, like running away. And in all of this, Shaun is oblivious. Just to show how drunk he was the night before. So it starts inside the house. Shaun asleep in the kitchen, which is very messy. You can see in the background pots and pans laid about, beer cans. And he then wakes up. He moves into the living room where you can see Ed half asleep on the sofa, and he is asked if he needs anything from the shop. Obviously his famous shopping list, which is a cornetto. And you can tell by Shaun's character movement and expression that he is very tired. He stumbles.
Have you got any papers?
He can't even get in the living room. He barely makes it to the entrance of the lounge. And there he stands to ask Ed what he wants. Then it cuts to the garden gate. Of course, this is a replica of the scene earlier in the film, and he walks slowly out, half expecting to be hit by a ball, because that's what happened last time, but of course at this point it doesn't. Shaun is wearing his work clothes from the day before, which is the classic white shirt with a red tie and a bit of red pen splattered on his shirt from where he sort of dropped his pen
I didn't even have enough at the fucking shop.
And that actually foreshadows what's going to happen in the film later, because he's obviously going to get covered in blood with all the zombies, or him trying to kill them all. And also the white could, mean it's pure, and then the red on it mean danger. So yeah, he gets on his way. The street is in a big mess. There's cars smashed, their windows are broken, there's dead bodies laying about, the houses of cars are open. So yeah, he walks to the shop.
Do you want anything from the shop?
He walks in
Cornetto.
to the shop. To start with, you don't think there's too much going on, because the shelves are stacked well, I guess. And it's only until he gets to the fridge where he reaches for his Coke that we see two red bloodstains and hands on the door. He can tell, he's very tired, that he fumbles about in the fridge to get his drink. He puts the Coke back, replaces it with a Diet Coke. He closes the door. At this point, I think you can see a zombie in the background, but of course he's oblivious to them. He then turns around, shuts the fridge door, and then walks through the shop to the counter, and he actually slips on a bit of blood. You don't actually see the blood, but it's pretty easy to presume it is that. He then gets cornetto for Ed, and then goes to pay. He then shouts to the shopkeeper whether they have any newspapers, and there's no reply.
Nelson, have you got any
And he does
papers?
it again. And obviously, again, you can tell that he really cannot be bothered. He can't. He doesn't really care. He gives up. So then he can't be bothered to wait anymore. He dumps the cash minus 15p that he now does owe the shopkeeper, and stumbles out of the shop. Then stuff starts. You think he's going to work it out as a zombie is walking down the road near his house, which seems to be a replica of somebody that was very poor last scene. Sean gave him a bit of cash, and again
I didn't even have enough at the fucking
he's
shop.
like, oh no, sorry, I don't have it. I might have at the shop. Which just shows he's so oblivious. You think for just a second that he's gonna realise it's a zombie, but then he walks back into the house. In the Cornetto trilogy, there is Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, and The World's End. Obviously, I've used just Hot Fuzz and Shaun of the Dead for this project, but I really do enjoy all three films. And the Cornetto trilogy has definitely became a major part of British comedy, in my opinion, and they were all very popular. They all did well, and they're just they're just films that are very entertaining.